All right, strap in, everyone. Today we're diving deep into a concept that'll really warp your perception of reality, pun intended. Chaos gods.
Sounds ominous.
Oh, it is. We've got excerpts from some pretty intense lore to unpack. We're talking psychic hurricanes, fueled by emotions, battling it out in a dimension that mirrors our own.
A dimension mirroring our own.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But the big question is, can these all-powerful beings be stopped?
That's what we're here to find out.
Exactly. So to kick things off, what exactly are we dealing with here? What are these chaos gods?
Well, the chaos gods, they aren't your typical deities, sitting on clouds, judging souls, handing out commandments. They're more like forces of nature.
Forces of nature.
Yeah, born from the collective emotions of all sentient beings.
Hold on, so you're telling me our feelings, like getting stressed out over deadlines or road rage, that actually fuels these cosmic horrors?
Precisely.
That's a pretty unsettling thought.
It is. Imagine a dimension fueled by those emotions, a reflection of our world but twisted by psychic energy. That's the warp. And the stronger the emotion, the more power it pours into the warp, feeding these chaos gods.
Okay, I think I need a minute to process that.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. It's enough to make you want to, take up meditation or something.
Maybe we should.
But before I spiral into an existential crisis, let's meet these cosmic heavy hitters, shall we?
Sure.
We've got the big four: Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. From what I've read, they each embody a different flavor of chaos.
That's one way to put it.
So let's start with Khorne. What's his deal?
Khorne, he's the god of war, rage, and bloodshed. He represents a pure, unadulterated form of war. He rejects, actually, trickery, manipulation, especially magic.
Ah, so he's the smash first, ask questions later type.
You could say that?
I can already picture him, sitting on a throne of skulls, surrounded by rivers of blood.
You're not far off. He absolutely despises sorcery, sees it as cowardly.
Makes sense.
His followers, they're all about brutal, up-close and personal combat.
Charming. All right, so that's Khorne, the muscle. What about Tzeentch?
Tzeentch, he's a different beast altogether. He's the god of change, sorcery, and fate.
Oh, this is the mastermind?
Yes.
The one who loves overly complicated schemes?
Exactly. Picture a being with constantly shifting forms, faces whispering different things. Always 5 steps ahead. He revels in the chaos he creates.
Okay, so Khorne is the brute force, and Tzeentch is the cunning manipulator. Got it.
Now tell me about Nurgle. The name alone just sounds icky.
Well, he is a bit much, visually speaking.
I can imagine.
Imagine a rotting, bloated figure constantly oozing, covered in sword. Surprisingly, he has a rather welcoming demeanor.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like that creepy uncle who insists on hugging you, even though he's clearly got the flu.
A very apt comparison. He represents the inevitable decline of all things, but in a weirdly paternal way.
Okay, so we've got the bloodthirsty rage monster, the scheming sorcerer, the walking biohazard, and that brings us to Slaanesh. The name almost sounds elegant compared to the others. Slaanesh. The god of pleasure, pain, sensation, and excess. This one is a master of temptation, able to embody whatever is most seductive to the viewer.
It's interesting.
Think divine beauty, but with a dark, twisted edge.
All right, so we've got the bloodthirsty rage monster, the scheming sorcerer, the walking biohazard, and the embodiment of temptation. What a delightful bunch. But wait, didn't we have some information about a 5th chaos god? Malice?
That's right. Malice represents chaos's tendency to turn on itself.
So even chaos can be chaotic.
He opposes the other 4 whenever possible. It's as if even chaos needs its own internal conflict.
That makes a twisted kind of sense, I guess. But okay, if these gods are battling it out in another dimension, how does it affect us here?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The chaos gods primarily interact with the material universe through their servants, demons, and mortal followers.
So how does that work?
Think of demons as extensions of the god's will, taking on forms that reflect their patron.
Okay, so given Khorne's love of bloodshed, what kind of havoc do his demons wreak in the material universe?
Imagine brutal assaults. A constant tide of rage and violence. They embody Khorne's desire for war in its purest form.
But that's just one example.
Right. Each god's demons wage war in their own way, reflecting their patron's nature.
So
Tzeentch's demons, they weave intricate schemes and manipulations. Nurgle spread plagues and contagions. and Slaaneshes.
What about Slaaneshes?
Well, their methods are a bit more insidious, using temptation and corruption to achieve their goals.
Okay, so it's not a very welcoming picture, but why are they doing all this? What's the end game?
Imagine these 4 or 5, if you count Malice, cosmic entities constantly vying for power, locked in a never-ending struggle.
A struggle for what?
It's a struggle known as the Great Game. Their realms in the warp are dynamic, constantly shifting with the ebb and flow of power.
So it's like a cosmic game of King of the Hill, but with reality itself as the prize.
You could say that. And it's a game with incredibly high stakes. And we haven't even touched on how these demons manifest in our world yet, or the mortals who become their followers. It's a complex and fascinating, albeit terrifying system.
Yeah, it sounds like we've got a lot more to unpack here.
You're right, we do.
Yeah.
And the stakes are incredibly high. You know, it's not just about conquering territory in the warp, this great game. It also involves influencing and corrupting the material universe, our reality.
Okay, so how do these demons actually cross over from the warp into our world? I mean, it's another dimension, right?
Think of it this way. Imagine the fabric of reality as a tapestry. Now, picture certain areas of this tapestry becoming weakened, like little tears or holes. That's what happens in areas with high concentrations of psychic energy.
Psychic energy.
Those tears, those weak points. That's where warp storms manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And they act as gateways.
Gateways for what?
Gateways for demons to pour through.
Warp storms. Okay. From what I've gathered, those sound like something you definitely want to avoid. But it's not just these demons, right? You also mentioned something about mortal followers getting involved in this cosmic chaos.
Absolutely. Some mortals, they are drawn to the power the chaos gods offer.
What kind of power?
Power beyond their wildest dreams. They made pacts, become champions, and spread chaos in the material realm, all in the name of their chosen deity.
So it's almost like a demonic popularity contest, with each chaos god vying for followers and influence. But if one of them were to win this game, what would happen?
Let's just say it wouldn't be a happy ending for anyone, least of all us.
I can imagine.
The very fabric of reality, it could be reshaped in their image. And trust me, you wouldn't want to live in a universe ruled by any of these entities.
That's a truly terrifying thought. So we've got these 4 major players, their demonic armies, and their mortal followers, all fighting for control. It's like a cosmic soap opera, but with the fate of the universe hanging in the balance. But are there any smaller players in this game? You mentioned minor chaos gods earlier.
Yes, there's evidence suggesting that minor chaos gods exist.
So like mini chaos gods.
They're less powerful than the big 4,
Yeah.
but still forces to be reckoned with. Think of them as rising stars.
Rising stars.
In the chaotic pantheon, constantly striving for power and recognition.
Oh, fantastic. Even more cosmic horrors to worry about. Do we have any examples of these minor deities?
Certainly. There are tales of chaos space marines known as the Raptors. They're believed to be connected to a minor chaos god.
Chaos Space Marines?
And there's even an account of the Tay. They're a technologically advanced race, encountering a potential chaos god that reflected their own philosophy of the greater good.
Wait, a chaos god based on the greater good? That's a pretty ironic twist. So even positive ideals can become warped and corrupted in the realm of chaos.
That seems to be the case. It really highlights the insidious nature of chaos, its ability to permeate, to corrupt even the most well-intentioned ideals.
It's a scary thought, that even good intentions can be twisted into something monstrous.
And it brings us to a question that has been on my mind throughout this deep dive. If these chaos gods are fueled by our emotions, could we theoretically weaken them by controlling our collective desires and fears?
Now, that is a fascinating concept. If we all just chilled out a bit, maybe the universe wouldn't be quite so chaotic. It makes you wonder, do we have more power over this whole reality-bending situation than we realize?
It's a compelling thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really challenges us to think about the nature of belief and its impact on reality. If enough beings truly believe in something, could it, in a sense, become real, even if that something is born from negative emotions?
Hold on. So we're not just talking about like metaphorical power here. You're suggesting that belief can actually shape reality on a fundamental level.
That's precisely what the concept of the warp suggests. It's a dimension of pure psychic energy, shaped and molded by the collective thoughts and emotions of sentient beings.
The chaos gods are the most dramatic examples of this.
Yes,
But the principle, it could apply more broadly.
precisely.
So in a way, we're all contributing to the reality we experience, both
Cool.
positive and negative. That's a pretty heavy thought. It makes you wonder what responsibility we bear for the state of the warp. And by extension, the universe.
It's a profound question. And while we ponder that, let's shift gears a bit and delve deeper into the nature of these demons. We've discussed them in a general sense, but did you know there's actually a hierarchy within their ranks?
A hierarchy.
You have the greater demons, most powerful and fearsome. They embody specific aspects of their god. Then there are the lesser demons, less powerful individually, but often more numerous, swarming their enemies like a tide of chaotic fury.
So like a demonic army with generals, foot soldiers, and everything in between.
Exactly.
This hierarchy makes sense, especially considering the scale of their operations. But what about the demon princes? I remember seeing that term mentioned in the source material.
Ah, yes. The demon princes. They're a fascinating case.
What makes them so special?
These are mortals who have ascended to demonhood, often through acts of extreme devotion, depravity, or both. They retain some semblance of their former selves, but are warped and twisted by the power of chaos. Imagine achieving a powerful promotion, but at a terrible cost.
That's a chilling thought. And these demon princes, they're still beholden to their patron god, right? Even with their newfound power.
To an extent, yes. But their power and independence vary. Some are essentially extensions of the god's will, while others carve out their own domains within the warp, becoming almost mini deities themselves.
It's all starting to sound like a cosmic power struggle with layers upon layers of complexity, but there's one thing I'm still not clear on. We've talked about how the Chaos Gods are constantly battling each other, but do they ever, team up?
That's where the concept of Chaos Undivided comes in.
Chaos Undivided.
While the Chaos Gods are inherently rivals, there are rare instances when they put aside their differences and work together towards a common goal.
That's interesting. It's like a temporary truce between supervillains. What kind of common goal could possibly unite these embodiments of discord?
Usually it involves a threat to them all, or an opportunity too great to pass up. For example, there are accounts of them uniting during the Horus Heresy. It was a massive galactic civil war that nearly toppled the Imperium of Man.
So even chaos can recognize the value of strategic alliances when the stakes are high enough. But if they work together, what happens to their demons? Do they suddenly become best friends and start braiding each other's hair?
Not quite. Demons of Chaos Undivided, they're still infused with the chaotic energies of their patrons, but their goals become aligned. Think of it as a symphony of destruction, rather than a cacophony.
So coordinated chaos.
A terrifyingly efficient orchestra of chaos.
Okay. That's somehow even more unsettling than the usual brand of cosmic anarchy. But hold on. If these chaos gods are fueled by our emotions and are constantly battling each other, wouldn't that create a kind of feedback loop? Like, their battles in the warp cause more chaos in the material universe, which in turn fuels them even more.
You've hit upon a crucial point. It's a self-perpetuating cycle of chaos. The more the chaos gods fight, the more they influence the material universe. And the more chaos they generate, the stronger they become. It's a truly daunting concept, this idea of a cosmic engine constantly churning out chaos, influencing our reality.
Yeah, that's not exactly a comforting thought. But how do these chaos gods even communicate with each other across dimensions? Do they have like interdimensional Zoom calls or something?
Their communication, it's likely far more abstract. Imagine psychic impressions, visions, dreams. It's a constant battle of wills, a clash of desires and intentions playing out on a cosmic scale.
I'm getting a headache just trying to imagine it. But okay, if these chaos gods are so powerful and constantly battling for control, why hasn't the universe already imploded in a giant chaotic fireball? It seems like a recipe for universal disaster.
It's a question that has perplexed scholars and philosophers for ages. Some believe there's a cosmic balance at play, that forces of order are counteracting the influence of chaos. Others speculate that the Chaos Gods' own rivalries prevent any one of them from gaining too much power, keeping them in check.
So it's like a cosmic tug-of-war, preventing the universe from tipping too far in either direction. That's slightly reassuring, but it still doesn't erase the fact that these entities are feeding off our emotions and influencing our reality. It's a lot to process.
It is. It truly challenges our understanding of reality, the nature of good and evil, and the forces shaping our existence.
After hearing all of this, I'm starting to feel incredibly insignificant, like a tiny ant scurrying around while these cosmic giants wage war above my head. Is there even anything we can do in the face of such overwhelming power?
Well, it's easy to feel that way. Insignificant, I mean. Like a tiny ant, scurrying around while these cosmic giants wage war above us. But remember, even ants can have an impact on their environment.
True, true. So where do we go from here? What can we do?
Perhaps understanding these chaos gods and our own role in this cosmic drama is the first step toward countering their influence.
So knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Remember, the chaos gods aren't static entities. They're shaped, molded by the emotions they consume.
Okay, so if we change the inputs, we change the outputs. If we somehow manage to reduce fear, rage, despair, could we actually weaken these chaos gods?
It's a compelling theory. Of course, getting billions of sentient beings to suddenly become beacons of peace and rationality is, well, a pretty tall order.
Yeah. Just chill out isn't exactly a winning strategy for humanity. But what about focusing on the opposite? Could amplifying positive emotions create a counterforce to the chaos gods?
Now, that's an intriguing thought. There's evidence that positive emotions also hold power in the warp. Think of the Eldari and their belief in creation and hope.
Hope.
Even in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there are flickers of light, moments of courage and selflessness that shine through.
So it's not just about suppressing the bad, but nurturing the good. Like a cosmic tug of war where instead of pulling the rope, we're trying to make it stronger on our side.
I like that analogy. It suggests that maybe the answer isn't fighting fire with fire, but cultivating a different kind of flame altogether, one that burns with hope, compassion, and creation.
Okay, but let's be realistic for a second. We're talking about forces that have existed since the dawn of time, fueled by the very essence of sentient existence. Can we really shift that balance?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? Do we have the capacity to understand these forces, to choose collectively what kind of reality we want to shape? It's daunting, but perhaps not entirely impossible.
That's either incredibly inspiring or utterly terrifying. I can't decide which. But, okay, if we're going to try to tip the scales, we need to understand the playing field. What about the chaos gods themselves? What are their weaknesses? Are there even limits to their power?
That's a question that has baffled, even the most learned scholars. Their power seems immense, almost limitless. But there are whispers, in the lore suggesting that even the chaos gods are bound by certain rules.
What kind of rules?
For one, they seem constrained by their own nature. Khorne, fixated on bloodshed and violence, he can't just decide to start a book club. His power is inherently destructive.
So their obsessions are their limitations. What else?
They also seem limited in their ability to directly interact with the material universe. They need intermediaries, agents to carry out their will.
Like demons.
Demons, mortal followers, that sort of thing.
So they're puppet masters.
Yes.
Who need puppets to act in the real world. That's a sliver of hope, maybe.
Perhaps. It suggests that the fight against chaos isn't just about battling demons and cultists. It's about resisting the temptations that they offer. It's about strengthening our resolve, our commitment to the values that oppose chaos.
So it's not just a physical fight. It's a mental and spiritual one, a battle for hearts and minds, as well as planets and star systems.
Exactly. And that's a battle fought on an individual level.
Yeah.
Every single day, every time we choose kindness over cruelty, hope over despair, creation over destruction, we're making a difference, pushing back against the tide of chaos.
That's pretty profound. It's not about some grand, epic showdown. It's the choices we make every single day. It's about choosing to be the light in the darkness, even when the darkness seems overwhelming.
It's about recognizing that we have agency.
Yeah.
Even in a universe seemingly ruled by these cosmic forces of chaos. We may be small, but we're not insignificant. And our choices, our actions, they do matter.
Well, that's a lot to think about. After this deep dive, I think I need a drink. And maybe a hug. This has been enlightening, to say the least.
I understand. It's a lot to take in. And remember, the next time you feel a surge of anger, frustration, or despair, take a deep breath and choose a different path. You might just be saving the universe.
No pressure. But seriously, everyone, this has been a deep dive into some truly mind-bending concepts. Chaos gods, the warp, the struggle between order and chaos. It's a lot to wrap your head around. But as always, knowledge is power. And the more we understand these forces, the better equipped we are to, well, maybe not defeat them, but at least resist their influence. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and for the love of all that is good, stay away from warp storms.